Hi and welcome to HRM Asia Insights. I'm joined today by innovation thought leader and co-author of The Innovation Race, Andrew Grant. Andrew, thanks very much for being with us.
It's great to be here.
In your very quick estimate, what does the future hold? What does the future look like for business in Asia Pacific or around the world over the next few years?
Well, that's a big question because everyone wants the futurists to look into a crystal ball and tell us what's going to happen. And we all know no one could predict the GFC. Very few people could have even predicted the internet or what's going to happen with artificial intelligence. So you asked me about the next few years, but I think we really only need to talk about the next few months. What will happen is it'll change so fast. People won't know what's happening, and one of the ladies at this conference spoke about a half-life, that half the people that leave university in 5 years' time, that what they learn will be non-existent. So the only thing we can learn for innovation is how quickly we can adapt to that change. And any futurist that's going to tell you what's going to happen, he's got a 50% chance of it happening, because we can't even predict the stock market a lot of the time.
You and your wife have been travelling and researching innovation and creativity for over 30 years, but looking broadly, not just at companies, but countries, and even going back to the Pharaohs and
Tower of Babel. We go back as far as in the Book of Genesis.
What are the factors that help to drive and maintain creativity and innovation?
First of all, I think that's an important question, because a lot of companies, they just want to look at the current leaders, Google, Apple, 3M. We get banks that say to us, don't mention them because they're not us. We always tend to look at Silicon Valley, but that's a dangerous episode of the innovation race, because 10 years ago we might have been looking at Wang, Borders Computers, BlackBerry. We really have to go back far enough to actually see, is there any attributes that are happening over cultures? And so rather than just looking at the current leaders and trying to say, if we have a canteen like Google or we have an innovation lab like Apple, we're going to be like, or we all dress with black skivvies like Steve Jobs, we can be like them. It's not going to happen like that. So what we've seen is that over the thousands of years of research, and right across countries and companies and cultures, not just Western cultures, there have been some attributes that make people successful. But they have typically been freedom, openness, a sort of a resilience or flexibility, and a group collaboration. That's typically what we say. If you track down that end of the path, for 60 years, people said that those four things create creativogenic cultures. But what the paradox theory shows, which is what my wife's studying at the university, is that if you just track down that left side of the path, you can be too innovative. And I know that's one of your next questions about...
It is.
How can you be too innovative?
Can you be too innovative? I don't even need to be.
So the mistake we make, as I said, we again look at these companies that are following the left side of the road. We're calling it the explorers. They like to always push out and try new things. But what the paradox theory is showing is, if you have too much exploring in a company, you will go off the rails. And we saw that happen recently with Uber, that they were too free and people could do whatever they want, to the point where sexual abuse claims came in. So along with a lot of freedom, which is what we think you need in innovation, you actually need control. Along with openness, you need some individualism. Along with that optimism, you need a little bit of rigidity to sort of make sure that people are not just going to go off the edge. So absolutely, you can be too innovative, and that is not sustainable. So yes, if you've got this cool, hackathons and great innovation lab, and you let people dress casually, it might appear to be innovative, but it's not sustainable. Now, what the paradox theory shows is, to make sustainable innovation that'll happen over a long period of time, you need the exploration people and the preservation people actually in tension. And if that's managed badly, that tension rips a company apart. But if that tension is managed really well, then that fuels people to move forwards in innovation. So you need both groups in the room to be innovative.
So is there any company or organisation or country or culture that you sort of see as a good example of managing that tension well?
Well, I think if you look at innovation indexes, the Scandinavian companies come out high, but so does Singapore. And there's Singapore and Scandinavian countries have very different mindsets. Both of them have been tracking. You could say the Scandinavians are more down the exploration side of the road, and maybe Singapore's down the preservation side of the road. They've both done really well. So what we need is maybe a little bit from each country. You need the social empathy that the Scandinavians need. You need the optimism of the Americans. You need the process improvement of the Japanese and the Germans. The Jugaad innovation of India. And here in Asia, Asia's really big on the collaboration idea. So the concept of gotong royale in the Malaysian culture, Asia's really wired the concept of collaboration. And that is one of the things that fuels innovation forwards.